What is up, everybody? It's here today. So we're going to talk about the developers over at Insomniac while making Ratchet and Clank. They have shown that they have had to do no crunch work. Now, crunch work is like working overtime or being like extremely doing strenuous work, like so working overtime or like working long hours to get a goal done. Um, a director at Insomniac said they didn't have to do any crunch, like he said. I appreciate people sharing this positive because it's important. Ratchet and PS5 is an average 89 average score, and I can't speak for anyone on the team but myself, but I didn't crunch once. 40-hour work weeks the whole time. It is possible to work on a great game without suffering. Yeah, so I guess because the gaming community, the game making community, they're used to just I guess suffering while they make these games, working long hours and stuff like that. He said that they had to make this game. The game is doing phenomenally well in review scores. Like I think it has like a lot of 9.5 out of 9 out of 10, a lot of 8 out of 10s, 5 out of 5s. So the game is doing very well in review scores so far. So that is pretty cool. Yeah, so I wonder if this is going to change the culture, the gaming culture of game development, where they don't have to crunch to make these games, to do 40-hour work weeks, and still make a great game like this. So definitely interesting what the narrative about the gaming community is going to be now with this coming out like this. And somebody says one of the best studios. I wonder what the best studio to work at would be. Seems like Insomniac is right at the top. They really do make games that emphasize the fun factor, and I'm guessing that's reflected in the workplace. Yeah, you can say the same thing with Nintendo too. Like you don't really hear too many crazy stories about Nintendo developers crunching to complete their games, and their games so extremely well. They get really highly rated. So I don't know if it's just because of I don't know what could it be. It's like what's the common thing between like Nintendo and like this Ratchet and Clank? I don't know. It's like they have figured out they don't have to work these long hours and still make a great product. So it sounds like it's pretty consistently voted as one of the best places to work in America, not just in video games or tech, America in general. Okay. Great. Now I'm looking at careers on the website that I'll never get. Haha. Good luck. Give me free games if you get the job. Nintendo as a whole is pretty famous for not having much crunch. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like Nintendo, the same thing with Nintendo. They don't have the issue either. But I'm not sure which of their studios would be the best if there's even much difference between the studios. Honestly, that's the only example I could think of that would be around Insomniac. Most video game companies are pretty S to their employees. Uh, a lot of good things were said about Supergiant around the time of Hades' release, but the studio is only about 20 people. And the downside of that is I feel they're a bit too lax, not advocating crunch, but often when developing a game, they don't have any release date in mind, so titles can take up six to 8 years to come out. Wait, we'll go to that. Oh, what just happened? Let me see. Where's that? Depends. I found most games are fun to work on despite their skill or mechanics. You get a different feeling out of making games than you do playing them. Like just writing code and executing it and your S just working is almost as satisfying as beating a Bloodborne boss. Almost. Insomniac almost seems too good to be true, but loved by fans, incredible games, no crunch, insane optimization, a plethora of accessibility options. Is like there are literally no downsides to the company. Yeah, our companies either follow the Insomniac's example, then if they're doing this great, they're making these highly rated games. It's like their employees aren't being stressed out. So more companies should follow Insomniac's lead. It's definitely one of the greatest studios we're seeing so far in game development. I imagine it's more likely there was a degree of crunch. It was just handled respectfully and honestly, which means the employees don't see it as such, just busier work. Make the employees happy, and a lot of problems will fix themselves with no work needed. Yeah, if you make your employees happy, then it's like you got an easier workplace environment. A lot of people don't see it that way. A lot of people want the employees to be super stressed out. That's just weird. The developers specifically mentioned never working more than 40 hours a week. If you fit the crunch into regular work hours, it just becomes work. Yeah, but that's just expect. It's only natural that things will get busy in the lead up to releasing a game, just like how all jobs have busier and more slow periods. Um, like that other commenter said, as long as it's handled respectfully with appropriate compensation and downtime, I think it's fine. I think the point they're trying to make is that there was literally no crunch, like not even a lesser degree of crunch or crunch that's accepted and rewarded because of busy season, but like literally no crunch at all. What is crunch anyway? And this guy breaks it down. Working over 40 hours a week, some companies will still require their employees to work 60, 80, 100-hour work weeks before releases, sometimes for months on end. Uh, Edit it's almost completely unavoidable by having realistic, adjustable deadlines and expectations set by management. Okay. Cyberpunk devs have been in crunch since the first delay, lol. But sure, they're not. They're not now considering all the radio silence on updates on a roadmap. Okay. Honestly, it's more of a leadership failure if crunch exists. There needs to be a clear visions and stuff on where a project is going. Over time, due to unrealistic deadlines and simply immature project management, with all the advances in game development, so many companies still completely overlook modern project management. How did working that much become some kind of flex of that? Yeah, people be bragging about working like 80 hours a week. Like, why is that so to brag about? Like, I want to work as like at least 40 hours a week and enjoy it the rest of the time. I was like, that's a weird flex right there. People brag about working that long hours. It's just weird. I think what really gets me on the crunch is twofold. One, deals on contract or usually salary and do not qualify for overtime, meaning crunch pays them significantly less. Crunch pays them less for significantly more work. Lower level devs in the games industry also get seriously underpaid because their love for gaming is blatantly exploited. And two studios have been done, and two studies have been done that show that the burnout from extended crunch outweighs the increased production, and it causes issues later on. Like if a dev is working on a feature, but he has a backlog of four of the features, that's all needs to be done in 3 days. You're gonna get something that will be less testable, less robust, less modular, more prone to bugs, and some that treats their employees well and it pays off. Yeah, so it's like the golden rule: treat your employees well, and the company does well. It's like that's like simple as that. Unpaid overtime. This is exactly almost any job. This is exactly almost any job experience a form of crunch. Retail in the run up to Christmas, doctors during flu season, sales jobs in quarters to name a few. As long as it's handled respectfully and controlled with agreed limits, healthy downtime and compensation, it is part of most modern jobs. They shouldn't do every job. Might get busier, but the expectation is that you shouldn't be working overtime for weeks and because of poor management. Retail normally hires additional people just for the Christmas load, for example. Sales and medicine are well known for us working conditions. No, not every job has crunch. You just only work crappy jobs. Also, healthy downtime. Also, healthy downtime equals no overtime. Nobody should be forced to work longer than their schedule. Yeah, I'm included right there. It's looking like let's see. Hopefully, the game industry improves from this. Like, if you can still make these triple A big budget games and still be like highly rated, I was like, what's the point of crunching at this point? Like, why do they really need crunch at that point if they can make these big games like this? Like, once again, this game is getting phenomenal scores all across the board. So it's like, why crunch? Why continue to crunch if you can make great games like this, get high scores, and be this game's probably gonna sell a lot too. So kind of seems like those really, it's kind of seems like there doesn't really need to be a reason to crunch anymore, to be honest. But I don't know. Let me know your thoughts down below about this. Do you agree that they should try to get rid of this crunch culture in the gaming community? Or, let me know your thoughts about this down below. Leave a like if you like this video, and as always, thanks for watching and peace.